When you have the best record, you almost never make it to the World Series.
I wonder what the stat is on that, actually.
Yeah.
That'd be
I wonder what the
interesting
percentage, the actual percentage, especially in modern day playoffs. It's different when the top team in the league went to the World Series, because it was every year that the team with the best record.
Right. Yeah, I wonder.
Well, hello, everybody. Thank you so much. And apologies to people who were listening into the audio version previously, but we're going to keep repeating this. Thank you for getting us over the milestone. You guys are the best. Yay. Hurrah. Woo. So, yeah, that starts. Sarah Lane will start joining the show on a regular basis on October 2nd. And the reason for that is we don't get any of your Patreon funds until October 1st, and October 1st is a Sunday, so the Monday right after that is when we'll start the new regime. Veronica and I have already been in talks about DTNS Labs stuff, so whenever you're ready to talk about that, let me know. No, we haven't quite decided everything, so we got some decisions, but that's been underway, so we're cooking that up. And the final Fridays of October, final Friday of October will be our first roundtable show where we'll do a more classic, I think, 4-topic, 15-minute each, hour-long roundtable show. Good old-fashioned digging into the stuff. And the advisor level people get to help choose one of the topics of those roundtable shows. So we got to figure out how that all works. We'll let you know. It's very exciting.
Totally. It would be even more exciting.
What?
Control.
Oh, that's so exciting. You're right. Giving you control is almost as exciting as you get. There you go. You're so practical, Roger. Sarah's going to pop in later on after the show. So if you're watching the live stream, stick around after the show for that. You guys ready?
Yes.
Yeah, sure. You betcha. All right, here we go. 3, 2.
All I wanted for my birthday was for Sarah Lane to join Tom as co-host of DTNS. Because of all the fine folks that went to patreon.com/DTNS and gave at least $1 a month, my wish came true. Thanks, everyone, and welcome to the show, Sarah.
This is the Daily Tech News for Monday, September 18th, 2017. I'm Tom Merritt. With me, Ms. Veronica Belmont. How are you?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing very well. We passed our milestone this morning, and DTNS Labs is going to happen, and Final Friday Roundtable is going to happen, and Sarah Lane is going to be on the show, and everybody wins. That's how I feel.
But you know who wins especially?
Who?
The listeners.
The listeners, they win the most. The bosses win the most. So yeah, looking forward to that. We went into details somewhat on the Patreon, but if just the short version is we don't get your pledges until October 1st. So Sarah starts October 2nd because October 1st is a Sunday. So that's when all the new stuff will kick in and DTNS Labs will kick in. And the final Friday of October will be our first roundtable. So we'll keep you informed on the details of that. But for today, let's start with a few tech things you should know. Huawei posted a Facebook video announcing it will unveil its Mate 10 phone on October 16th. We were talking the other day about whether all of the holiday phones had been announced, and we forgot Huawei. Mate 10, October 16th, and Huawei promises it will be the real AI phone.
What does that mean?
That means Huawei's Kirin 970 mobile processors include a neural processing unit, and they're pretty good, actually. So they do have good AI stuff. But it's a shot at Apple, yeah.
Waze has integrated Spotify into its iOS app, meaning you can control your songs through the Waze interface without having to switch apps. Users can control playback, view recently played songs, and access recommendations. There's also a button to jump to the Spotify app if you so desire.
Yes, while parked safely, you can jump to the Spotify app. This is great. I don't really use Spotify, so it's not going to help me, but I would like to have
both
this
heavily.
Oh, well, there you go. So you're like the target audience for this.
Yeah, I am absolutely the target.
Intel announced its sensor processing, general compute, and connectivity for real-time information processing has been used in Waymo's autonomous cars since 2015. I don't know why Waymo wouldn't let them talk about it before now, but Intel's trying to point out, like, hey, yeah, we're partnering with stuff. Up till now, Waymo has done most of its work in-house, and and sort of made their name on the fact that we build our own tech, but Intel saying, hey, we're providing some compute processing here.
Very cool. Microsoft announced it will hold an event October 3rd in San Francisco to show the final mixed reality experience coming to the Windows 10 Fall Creators Update.
You know, when I record this onto VHS, what I'll call it?
What?
My mixed reality tape. They're not gonna give us a new HoloLens. Everybody pretty much agrees on that, but we are gonna see everything that Windows 10 can do with mixed reality. All the new headsets that were being teased at IFA, some of which have already gone up for pre-order. So if you're really into the mixed reality stuff and you're okay not getting the next HoloLens, then check that out, October 3rd.
A time to be alive.
It is. It is certainly a time to be alive. Now here are some more top stories. Piriform announced that attackers have compromised versions of its CCleaner software back in August, infecting it with malware. CCleaner goes back decades, literally, as being Windows and now Android utility for just cleaning up junk off your machine. Cisco Talos researchers discovered that CCleaner's download servers were compromised on September 12th. They discovered on September 12th that they had been compromised. They were compromised back in August. CCleaner's owner, Avast, fixed those servers immediately as soon as Talos told them, replaced the downloads, then worked with U.S. law enforcement to shut down the malware's command and control servers on September 15th. So it appears that they shut down those servers before the malware operators started using them for anything nefarious. So even if you had an infected version of CCleaner, nothing bad happened. It looked like they were just setting up a botnet. CCleaner and CCleaner Cloud are now available in totally clean versions, and Piriform advises users to update to those, especially if you have CCleaner version 5.33.6162 or CCleaner Cloud version 1.07.3191. You'll want to make sure you get those new versions. They estimate about 2.27 million users affected.
But Tom, who will CClean the CCleaners?
I guess, well, CCleaner has cleaned itself. CCleaner, heal thyself. Clean thyself, I mean.
Hey, I recommended that app once.
I would Way to go.
I would still recommend it.
I'm just joking.
This is very unfortunate, and there are some questions to be answered about how they got into the CCleaner servers, how they got into the Avast server. I'm very curious about that. But everything else they did, once it was discovered, they did well. It is a little bit odd that Cisco Talos discovered this, not Avast itself, a security company. So there are more than a few questions about this, but it does seem like CCleaner is back to being clean.
We're just bad at security.
Yes and no.
Is the world just bad at security?
I mean, the world is bad at security. There's no doubt about that. I don't think that every company is bad at security. I think security is just really, really hard.
It's hard.
And too many managers have gotten the habit of making financially based decisions rather than security based decisions, because security is not only hard, sometimes it's expensive.
That's true. Well, moving on to even more complicated things, scientists at the University of Bari in Italy have developed an algorithm to identify structural changes in the brain caused by Alzheimer's decades before symptoms appear. The AI was trained on 67 MRI scans, 38 of which came from Alzheimer's patients. After training the AI, it was able to identify Alzheimer's patients 86% of the time and detected mild cognitive impairment 84% of the time.
And that mild cognitive impairment is the key here, because that's the kind of thing that will show up before symptoms, that will show up before detectable systems, right? It's the kind of thing where you're like, I can't remember that name. Well, everybody can't remember that name. That itself is not a symptom of Alzheimer's, but this bot, this AI, was able to tell with 84% accuracy when it in fact was.
Right. That's really great. I mean, we need kind of like good news about this right now too, because after Watson had some failings finding cancer, I think, some of the early ideas about what AI would be good for, the medical field was a huge one, just because there's so many misses and doctors are human and it's very difficult sometimes to catch all possibilities. So AI should, assumably be much better at that. But Watson had some difficulty. Hopefully this will do some good work in the realm of Alzheimer's.
The good, although possibly bad thing is that these folks were only able to use a limited set of Alzheimer's scans that were available within the university.
Mm-hmm.
So they
in a
went
bigger data set.
Yeah, that's why they only had 67 MRI scans to work from. The idea, the hope, is that if they get access to a larger data set based on their findings so far, that they would be able to improve the accuracy of the AI. There's always the chance that it's a fluke in the other way. Usually these things get more accurate the more data you give them, though.
It's too bad they can't like tap into something like RadNet that does all the MRI scans and like just be like, if we anonymize this data, can we just use this data set?
Well, and there you go. It's right back to the security is hard thing.
Yeah.
It's like it's so easy to imagine anonymizing data, and yet, especially with health records, it's so tricky to make sure that it's anonymized. There's a study out today about Apple's differential privacy and whether it's really protecting your privacy. Not to get too far down that rabbit hole, but differential privacy is where Apple says we put noise in the data when we store your data in the cloud so we can still extract useful patterns out of it, but we can't identify people. And a study found that
you kind of can.
The epsilon score for Apple's approach seems to be rather high, and the epsilon score is how you rate whether you can extract the data or not. The higher, the riskier.
Gotcha.
So anonymizing data is also hard. These things aren't impossible. They're just hard, though. As expected, Google has launched a new payment app in India called Tez, T-E-Z. The app, whose name translates as fast, uses audio QR to pair the devices by sound that is inaudible to the human ear. Any phone with a speaker can use it. That way, you don't have to have some fancy smartphone with NFC to exchange payments. In fact, you don't even have to exchange your personal details. There's no internet sharing of your bank account number or anything like that. It's Tez to Tez. It's just the sound saying, "Are you Tez?" "Yes, I'm Tez." "Okay, boom, here's 5 cents or rupees or whatever." Tez is also part of the India Unified Payments Interface. That means it works with all the banks in India. This is one of the best things India's ever done, from what I can tell from the outside. I'm sure there's problems on the inside, but it makes it easy for payment apps to interact with each other and not have to get all the banks on board every time. The app is available on iOS and Android, and Google plans to bring it to other markets, including Vietnam, Indonesia, and Thailand.
I just think, between all the security issues around the Echo device and some of the sounds that can trigger it, subsonic sounds, for example. And I don't know. And then I started thinking about how the American diplomats are being removed from the Cuban American embassy because of
so you're like ultrasonic bad.
Ultrasonic sound. I'm like, oh God, please don't make an entire country start having
please don't hack Google
diarrhea.
Yeah. Well, as far as the Amazon Echo stuff, I feel like that's fundamentally different because with the Echo, you know exactly what word to say, even if you say it ultrasonic, right? Like there isn't any security on activation there. This has lots of security about two-factor, or not two-factor, but public key type of security associated with it. So it would be difficult to spoof, way more difficult than an Echo. I do wonder how many people will be afraid of the word ultrasonic, especially after those stories. Like, yeah, but if I start making Tez payments, is it going to make me lose my hearing? No, it shouldn't.
It shouldn't.
It shouldn't. It's highly unlikely that Google would have not tested that. We don't know for sure. I haven't looked into it, but I think this is genius because it's so much more secure device to device than networked, and using audio means that you have to be within range of the person you're exchanging the payment with.
Yeah. I think that technology is cool.
Yeah.
And I meant to say ultrasonic, not subsonic. Or maybe one situation was, I don't know. You're the audio engineer. I know. I don't remember. I know there's a difference. Anywho, over the weekend, the internet slowly realized that people with Xboxes were playing against people with PlayStations in Epic Games' Fortnite. A spokesperson told Engadget, "We had a configuration issue and has now been corrected. So apparently not a technological nightmare to make cross-platform play actually happen." Yeah, according to this Engadget article, pretty easy. I think there was a Reddit thread where people said, "Hey, I noticed I was playing people who had spaces in their nicknames, and that's not allowed on my platform." And then people started sharing screenshots, and I guess there was a father-son where the father was on one console and the son was on another, proving that they were in the game together. And Sony has been vociferous in its opposition to this, often implying that it's just too difficult to manage.
Granted,
Well,
making it
no,
happen.
but I mean, Sony was cross-platform with Windows 10, or like one of the with PC gameplay for a while.
Sure. But they've been very resistant about the idea of going to the Xbox.
Yes.
And this shows that you can at least do it by accident. Now, obviously, there's a difference between an accidental cross-platform situation happening and literally managing it and providing customer support for it. But I think it does show that it apparently isn't hard to turn on.
Yeah, I think that's kind of fascinating.
I think it's hilariously fascinating that it just sort of happened. And if I were to put a tinfoil hat on, I'd wonder if any Epic Games engineers sort of accidentally flipped a bit and then forgot about it.
It's good. It's kind of good, good promotion for the game.
Yeah, for Fortnite, that's for sure. Torrent Freak reports that the Pirate Bay is testing running a JavaScript for mining cryptocurrency on its website instead of running ads. The site would use any visitor's machine's extra processor capacity to mine the Monero coin. So it's not actually using Bitcoin. You'll see that in headlines, including my own tease on Twitter, but it's Monero coin. The miner can be blocked with script blockers because it's JavaScript. So if you're running Privacy Badger or NoScript or anything like that, you could stop it. Pirate Bay says the test should only use 20 to 30% of a user's capacity. There were some reports that it was using more, and they said that was a bug. And it's devised to only run in one tab. So if you have multiple tabs of the Pirate Bay open, it would only run in the first tab that you opened. And they say, we want your honest feedback. Would you rather see ads, or would you rather us mine some cryptocurrency while you're visiting the Pirate Bay and getting your legitimate ISOs? Because anything else you get that's copyright infringing would not be legal.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's really cool, actually, I think. Would you do it?
Okay, yeah. Let's try to set the Pirate Bay side of this out of the equation, because a lot of people are going to raise their hand and say, well, Pirate Bay shouldn't be making any money because they've built their reputation on piracy.
Blah, blah.
Let's set that aside. If a less controversial website were to do this, would you be okay with that?
What would be
like
a good
if
example
Wired
of that?
magazine said, "Hey, we see a bunch of you guys without ad blockers out there.
Mm-hmm.
We'll give you the choice. We'll mine 20% of your processor power with a cryptocurrency while you're visiting Wired, and then you get everything ad free."
I would, yeah. I mean, if I knew for a fact that it would be only while I was, using wired.com or using, maybe it's a podcasting app, you have to host a certain amount of content, or maybe you allow a certain amount of processing power to be used while you're downloading stuff, or something to help offset costs. Yeah, I think I'd be okay with it.
Yeah, I mean, there are things like Library where they use a blockchain method to allow for people to put their video up and peer-to-peer for sharing it. So I'd be with it in principle. When it comes to just visiting a website and saying, to visit our website, you have to hand over some of your resources to mining.
Well, it's kind of scary to think about, too.
Yeah. And my knee-jerk reaction is, well, I don't want you running up my processor and depleting my battery and all of that. But how many times do ads do that?
Yeah.
With video and autoplay anyway.
Totally.
I mean, I guess the way you could convince me is show me, like, if you run our ads, we use this much of your processor. Let us mine some cryptocurrency, and we'll actually use less of your processor. And your eyeballs will not be assaulted with ads. I don't know. You might convince me.
I'm open to new ideas like that.
I'm definitely open to the idea behind it as well. I'm not rushing in, though, because anything with scripts is always dicey, too.
Right.
So you have to trust the website. Yeah, Roger.
If they could do it in the same way they did at Folding at Home, where it's an application that only starts up when you're not using the machine, as a way to kind of like, okay, fine, I'm not using my laptop, I'm not using my PC. You can use 20% of the CPU while I'm away doing some other stuff, if that allows me to access your site. It just, I think really for a lot of people would be the security issue. Like, what exactly are you running? What
else are you running there? But that's true for any script, really. That's not unique.
And that's the great thing about Folding at Home was that it was open source. People could look at it and say, okay, yeah, this is what it does.
I mean, also, I am going to be using my computer to reuse your site, so it would be difficult to have this run only when I'm not using my computer. So I don't know. Maybe there's something else there. Maybe there's a Folding at Home for your favorite, for the New York Times.
Well, or like you have like a bunch of people like New York Times, Washington Post, or whatever newspapers. They all go in as an example.
If you run their thing, you get credit.
Yeah, like you get you build up time. Like you get 10 minutes of reading time. You get 30 minutes of reading time, and you can spend that amount of time across these different websites.
Anyway, it is intriguing, and I don't know. I really don't expect it to move past the Pirate Bay, and I don't think the Pirate Bay will keep doing it either. They're getting a lot of blowback on it. Hey, folks, if you want to get all the tech headlines each day in about 5 minutes, be sure to subscribe to dailytechheadlines.com, and you can get the Daily Tech Headlines delivered right to your podcast. It's also available on the Amazon Echo and in the Anchor app. All right, let's take a quick break and check in with Chris Christensen, who has some ideas, some things he spotted in New York for tech travelers.
This is Chris Christensen from Amateur Traveler with another Tech in Travel Minute. I'm just back from New York City, and an interesting thing to keep an eye out for if you're in New York City, especially in Midtown, is there's a new series of electronic billboards. These are smaller things on the sidewalks that are something like 3 feet wide and 6 feet tall. But if you look at them closely, if you look at the side of them, you'll see that in addition to this being electronic advertising, it's also a Wi-Fi hotspot and also has interactive help, including the ability to pull up maps as well as recharge your cell phone with USB ports. Another thing to watch out for in the subway is new interactive touchscreen displays that help you plan your route. So interesting things happening in New York City. Maybe these will give you or your cities some ideas as well. I'm Chris Christensen from Amateur Traveler.
And yes, those are the kiosks that when they first installed them were being used to surf anything that someone wanted. And they've locked them down since, apparently.
That sounds fun.
Yeah. It was fun for some people, apparently. Hey, thanks to everybody who supports us in our subreddit as well. It's a great place to exchange ideas. It's a place that I look at to see what you're interested in, what I might want to put in the show. And folks are discussing all kinds of stuff over there at dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. We've also got a hoppin' Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/dailytechnewsshow. All right, it's a Mailbag Monday, ladies and gentlemen. We got lots of good email to get through, so we're going to set aside some time today to talk about more than we usually do. Starting with this one, Paul Cremines in Omaha, Nebraska, sent us a link to a story from local website /station WOWT there. Customers in some parts of rural Nebraska are being given until October 17th to find a new cell provider or be dropped,
or risk losing their number,
or be dropped by Verizon and lose their phone number.
Yeah.
So basically, Verizon is saying, we have identified you as somebody who roams too much. And roaming is not something that happens a lot in the U.S., but in rural areas, often it will, because
regardless of whether or not they had unlimited data plans too.
Yes, has nothing to do with their data plan. It's simply you signed up for Verizon in town, and then when you go out to your farm, you're roaming onto some other rural provider and it's costing us too much money, so we're dropping you. So you need to switch by this date, or when we drop you, you lose your phone number, because if you don't transfer your phone number, it just goes away.
And this is what I try to say. Like, this is why people don't understand that the country is not blanketed in broadband internet and useful cell phone access. Like, there are entire swaths of the country that have very limited or very slow or throttled connections, and it's very difficult for people in those places to have reliable, consistent internet access of any kind. And so, like, when you hear something like Verizon being like, "Oh, sorry, you're just costing us a little bit too much money because you're outside of our network area," like, what are people supposed to do in that case? Like, Verizon gave them the best possible phone access, the best possible cell phone access, which they can then use for data and internet and things like that on their mobile devices. And yet now that option is even being taken away from them. So they might have to go to something even worse or even more expensive. And it's just like, it drives me nuts. I think it's so unfair.
Yeah, and I have to admit, by the way, I said rural Nebraska, but the family that is identified in this Omaha, Nebraska story is in Iowa, in Glenwood, Iowa. I have to admit that I'm assuming that what happened is they went into town, they signed up for Verizon because it was cheaper than the company that provides roaming access out where they live, or maybe they have no access out where they live.
No, they just said it has the best. They have trouble getting good service, and that Verizon was the best option. It had the most service.
Well, and it probably has the most service elsewhere, right? So if they signed up for the one roaming service, when they roam somewhere else, they wouldn't get as good a service, right? And it probably is price effective because Verizon, while it is expensive compared to the other services, has a unified rate across the country. So again, compared to a small local provider, it might be cheaper. I don't know what you do, because I understand that Verizon is saying, hey, when you sign up in town, we assume you're in town, and it incurs more. It could potentially incur more costs to keep you as a subscriber than we're charging you. But I don't know. I mean, maybe Verizon should have an option for people who have, to have a high roaming plan, and they just don't see enough people needing it to make it worth their while.
Consider whether where you buy the phone is where you would be using the phone all the time.
Yeah, no, I've had that happen with my mom and my sister both, where they say, well, what address are you signing up? And my sister will always sign up with her office address in town, because if she signs up with her home address, which is out in the country, a lot of times they'll be like, oh, we don't provide service there. We don't want to sign you up.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. This is coming from my own, city living biases. I had no idea that was even a thing that they did.
Well, and on the one hand, it does sound abusive. On the other hand, it is the carrier trying to say, hey, we don't provide service out where you live, so we're not gonna, we're not gonna want to put you on a plan, because why would we put you on a plan and just have you upset that you don't get service?
Well, they didn't seem to be having issues with their service.
Well, no, not these people. I'm talking about in my sister's case, but
yes.
But with these people, yeah, it's they're gaming the system a little bit by sometimes in the way they sign up, but you're right. Where else do you go then if you need the cell service? This is one I want to throw out to the audience. If anybody has a great suggestion for folks who are losing their Verizon service on what you've done, by all means, send it to us. feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. You want to take this next one?
Sure. From Belinda?
Yeah.
Hey, Tom and friends. My fiance's aunt retired from the Social Security Administration. She mentioned something to me that I did not recall being discussed on the show. She said that I should create an account for me using my Social Security on the ssa.gov website. This will prevent fraudsters from signing up as me using my Social Security number and trying to claim benefits. I have quite a few years still before retirement, so I would not have thought of this. FYI, in case of DTNS audience hasn't thought of this either, it might be a good idea for parents to do this for their children as well.
So yeah, this is in response to Equifax, and the idea is this is another layer of protection. Now, to be fair, I have not seen any of the organizations providing advice for consumers suggesting this is necessary, because what you want is someone stopping going to the credit reporting agency and saying, hey, give me a loan. I'm Veronica Belmont, and here's all of her information to prove I'm Veronica Belmont. And they'll say, well, sir, you don't sound like Veronica Belmont, but you have all this information, so I guess you get a loan. You want to put the credit freeze on the credit reporting agencies to stop that. This would be another layer to say, well, if somebody gets access to all of that information that was in the Equifax database, they might call the Social Security Administration and try to change my information and hijack me. It really would only be useful if you're a retiree and they want to get your Social Security check, which is not usually a high dollar item anyway. But it's not a bad idea to look into it. If you go to ssa.gov, you can create an account with your Social Security number and shut off your Social Security number access so that no one can get at your Social Security number and try to pretend that they're you. If you don't have any benefits from Social Security right now, that might be a wise precaution to stop someone from pretending like they're you and claiming benefits or something.
Yeah, no, that's a good tip.
Yeah. Matthew wrote in and said, my younger brother has autism, but he uses an iPhone very well to communicate and watch videos, which helps him calm down in new and high sensory environments. However, Ever since iOS 10.3 and 11 rolled out, well, 11's rolling out tomorrow, they changed the Movies app to the TV app in the US, which added a lot of complexity that he's not ready for, such as the Watch Now and the Store tabs. I've tried setting restrictions and changing settings, but they don't remove the tabs, and if anything, they make the tabs break in ways I wouldn't have expected. I've also tried third-party apps, but because of some of his videos are from the iTunes Store, those apps just don't play the video unless I strip the DRM out. Do you or the DTNS community know of anything I can do to make the TV app closer to the former Movies app? And I would add, or allow him to access his DRM'd iTunes movies without having to use the TV app. And Matthew says, congrats on your success. And thanks. Well, yes, Matthew, he's so don't tell us strip the DRM. He already knows about that. Third-party apps that he's tried don't seem to be playing the iTunes stuff. So I don't know of anything in between. Do you?
I don't off the top of my head. This is definitely not my area of expertise, but I feel like there's someone out there who definitely knows.
This is another one I want to throw out to the audience. If you know of a way without stripping the DRM to play iTunes videos on iOS without using the TV app, right? Something akin to the old Movies app. The closest I could think would be to roll back the operating system and use iOS 10.2.
Yeah.
That's going to carry its own set of problems once they stop supporting that with security patches, though.
Yeah, that crossed my mind as well. But maybe someone like Robert Heron would know too. That might be interesting to pose to him. He knows that kind of stuff.
Yeah. That's a good idea. I'll ping Robert about it. And if anybody else thinks of an idea, email it to us, feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. Help us out with the last one.
Sure. This one comes from Bill. He says, Tom, when you mentioned on an earlier episode that there was a problem with the firmware in a pacemaker from Abbott, I became concerned because it sounded like it might include the pacemaker my wife implanted in June, or had implanted. She didn't do it herself, probably.
I hope not.
I checked their website to see if I could determine if her model was included, but didn't have any luck. I didn't say anything to her about it so as not to cause her to panic. Today, she received a letter that her pacemaker is one of those with the problem, but they feel that the update procedure is a higher risk than the hacking threat. I am including a scan of the letter she received. Bill in Huntsville.
So we talked about this, and the doctor's saying, well, there's more of a risk to you in turning the pacemaker off and updating its firmware than there is of someone hacking it. And Bill's wife is one of those people.
What a nightmare.
Yeah.
Oh, God. It's like the more we get tied into things, the more problems we open ourselves up to.
Yeah. No, that is crazy. And thank you, Bill, for being willing to share that, by the way. Appreciate that report on the ground from someone directly affected. And thank you, Veronica Belmont, for joining us. As always, what you got going on?
Today is the season finale of season 1 of IRL, the podcast I've been doing with Mozilla. It's a really great episode. We have a roundtable discussion about free speech on the internet. And I think this is a super important subject right now, and something that, really raises a lot of people's hackles. And, I really myself, I was feeling very passionate about some of the topics in this episode. And, it was good to have some different opinions. So I think, there's two sides to every argument. And I think we got some great people on the show to talk about it.
Go check it out, irlpodcast.org. And of course, once again, thank you for making it possible to bring Sarah Lane on the show every day, starting in October, plus launch DTNS Labs and a monthly roundtable of our own. We cannot thank you enough for the support. And for those still supporting us past the 20,000 mark, we do have more milestones to add a second roundtable to the show each month. Big thanks to everybody who supports us at patreon.com/DTNS. Right, Sarah? Oh, no, we can't hear your mic now. Crap. No, see, it's not October 1st yet. So you don't get to hear Sarah until it's actually time. Right, Sarah?
Well, she looks great.
She does. She looks really good. Well, like I said, make sure your pledge goes through on October 1st. And you'll get to hear.
A few more pledges and we'll get her a microphone that works.
Well, it's probably it's a good microphone. It's probably just the wire. We just
the same microphone we both have. Yeah.
I know, exactly.
How about now?
Oh, there you are. Hooray. Somebody pledged.
My volume was turned all the way down, so my fault.
Yeah, it's actually still a little low, but real quickly, thanks, thank you to everyone. Sarah, are you excited?
I'm so excited. I'm so thrilled. You guys can hear me now better, yeah?
Yep, absolutely.
Good. Glad to. Hi, V. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. Hi, cats.
I love IRL. Oh, yes.
Thank you.
You know, they're obviously very excited too. It's
Beautiful.
Monday around the Lane household. But yes, I'm so excited to join DTNS. I can't wait. This is a dream come true. It really is. So thanks to everybody.
We've got more things planned. We'll keep the details coming on Patreon. Sarah's going to be on the show this Friday, September 22nd. That was just already planned anyway. So be sure to tune in for that. And if you have any other questions, our email address is feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. We're live Monday through Friday, 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 2030 UTC at alphageekradio.com and diamondclub.tv. And our website is dailytechnewsshow.com. Back tomorrow with Patrick Beja. Talk to you then.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Sorry, guys. I didn't mean to jump in early.
Oh, you know, I
it's
wasn't. I know
I'm
you
just gonna
didn't,
sit here silently.
but everyone in the chat saw you, so I'm like, oh, well, let's just throw it in at the end of the regular show. Why not?
Okay. Yeah. Hi.
Hi.
How's it going?
Good.
Great.
How you feeling?
Feeling pretty good. You know, this was it was a really fun thing to wake up on Monday and have everybody in the DTNS bosses Slack be like, we did it.
I know. That's how I found out too, because I looked, it was 78 more, and I like made my little funny tweet, and then I started working on Daily Tech headlines, and I had my head down, and then all of a sudden I see the thing start pinging on Slack. I'm like, what's going on over there? And we had done it.
Yay. I mean, you know, 18 days into the month.
Not bad.
Feeling good.
Way ahead of what I thought. Way ahead. Like a huge.
Jeez, Tom. I mean, have a little faith.
No. I thought we could do it. I just thought it was going to take to October, and I was prepared for it to be like, oh, we'll have to go a little ways into November. You know, I'm just worst case scenario. I should have known better, though.
Of course. Veronica, I love IRL so much. It's my favorite.
Thank you. Well, we're coming back for season 2, which is
Yay.
exciting. So more
awesome.
stuff. I know they've been really great to work with, and it's been a really fun show to do. It's a lot of work, but it's been rad.
It seems like a lot of work considering there are just, you know, each episode they're interviews and locations, and it's pretty layered.
There's like a couple like producers and people working on every episode. So it's like, I definitely, it's not the kind of thing I could have done by myself ever. You know, even if I was doing it full time, it would have been an intense amount of work. Yeah, they're just super professionals, and it's been, they make it seem easy, but it's super hard.
Yeah, no, I mean, I can imagine. Well, one of these days I want to pick one of those producers' brains, because like it's just a really well-oiled machine.
Yeah, I'll put you in touch with my lead producer. He's brilliant, and I think he'd love to talk. Yeah, he's great.
Awesome.
He's like a former like CBC guy, and like, you know, has worked in radio for years, and it's just so cool. Yeah, they've got a really cool tight ship over there for sure.
Nice. Well, congratulations.
Thanks, and congrats on DTNS. Yay!
Yeah. Oh, Tech News Daily again. Couldn't stay away.
You thought you were out of the game.
You know, every time I think I'm out,
they pulled me back in.
It's true. It's true. No, it's good though. It's funny. I've been out of town for a week, and so I'm looking at all this equipment like, how's this working?
I don't think you're coming in on the right microphone, but we can hear you. The input might be off.
Yeah, I don't know. Tap that mic.
No,
it's the right one. There is something weird in the sound quality for it.
What about now?
I don't know if it's getting EQ'd or.
It's a little better.
Oh, that's way better.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, that's already way better.
Up a bit.
Yeah.
This stupid mixer. It's a real mystery.
So many dials. So many things.
So little time.
I actually tried to use the Blackmagic web presenter to see how that worked, and it didn't. with this Canon. Nothing seems to work with this camera anymore.
And you tried it with a different machine just to see if it?
No, I haven't got that far yet. I spent like a half an hour on Friday messing with it.
Do you want to do a quick rundown of the titles?
Oh yeah, what should we name the show?
Tom's mixed reality tape. The Pirate Bay wants your booty. My mixed reality tape. Format C: /cleaner. Security is hard. Security is really, really hard. When
Test dispenser.
Test
Test dispenser.
That's pretty funny.
Oh, that's funny.
Past the milestone, it didn't hurt.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny, Zoe.
CCleaner, clean thyself. CCleaner doesn't clean C. Give me.
I like Tom's mixed reality tape. Is pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The listeners win. Avast sucks. Alzheimer's. AI's. Ultrasonic bad. You got my Xbox and my PlayStation. Mining for content. Roaming is not on the Verizon. That's pretty funny.
Oh, that's pretty good too.
Hacked SSNs, retiring on other people's retirement. Well, I don't have to worry about that because I don't think it'll be around when I need to retire. Don't forget Huawei.
I don't know. Any of these catch your eye, your ear? Anybody?
I like the what was it? What was the one at the bottom? Not on the Verizon. What was it? It was not on the Verizon. Where did it go? Maybe it was 2. Oh, roaming is not on the Verizon. I like that, but I also like mixed reality tape.
I think
Sarah, do you want to cast the deciding vote?
Well, I wasn't part of the show, so I feel bad.
Well, no. Which one would make you want to watch the show? Tom's mixed reality tape or roaming is not on the Verizon?
Roaming is not on the Verizon.
Done.
Even though mixed reality tapes sound good too, for sure.
Oh yeah, it was an embarrassment of riches.
It's a tough decision to make.
All right, I should bounce.
All right, thanks, V.
Thanks, guys. See you later.
Bye.
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 So yeah, this is what it's gonna be like.
Gonna be like
come October.
It's true.
I mean, although then I go away to England right away. That's handy time.
I had a question about that, but it can wait after the stream is done.
Okay. Yeah, if you're in England, spread the word. October 9th, meetup and episode of DTNS at Will Harris's company, his startup. Details at bit.ly/
That's better.
DTNS London. I say that, and then I'm like, did I get it in the right order? I think it's DTNS London. Bit.ly. Yeah, I typed it wrong.
There, that angle is a little bit less dramatically.
Yes.
Low angle, high angle.
Bit.ly/ DTNS London. Yeah, your shot looks great.
Awesome. It's the Logitech. That's the camera I'm using.
Nice. Yeah, it looks good.
I like this little guy. You can just attach it to anything.
I know. It's so versatile. And your lighting is always good in that room, seems like.
I still need, you know what I was going to do while we're here?
You know what we should do? We should do some Johnny Ive parodies. Move all the furniture out of the background. And
where you move the lamp?
Oh, I was just going to put the lamp on the table.
That would be good. That would actually light your other half.
Yeah.
There might be a color mismatch.
I didn't do much, did it? The thing is that it's so bright. I think I'm better off. Here's what I'm better off doing.
And today's a little bit of a cloudier day than usual too, so it's a good day to work on that.
It's the middle one. It's actually not cloudy out here. It's super
really?
Sunny. Yeah.
It feels like it's overcast from where I sit, but I am not actually looking at the sky. Just the light that's coming through the little crack in the doorway seems darker than usual. It's probably not a very good measure.
Yeah, see, I think this camera likes it when there's less backlight, and then it kind of comes to life.
If you don't have like a white poster border or something, that size that you could maybe like prop up on somewhere on the right so it would bounce some of the light.
Yeah, well, this lamp is very diffused. I think if I had something that was more of like just a real key light, even a desk lamp, I think that would help.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you want, you could swap out the bulb and get one of those. They sell them at Home Depot, just like an outdoor level light, which would be blue, like 5700K temperature. Remember all the stuff we learned at state? It's slowly.
It's
sure
lighting
do.
time.
Okay, so so this is like without the
lampshade.
Yeah, like it's already. Yeah, it just needs more of like a light. It's hard to look at. It's very bright. What I need is some color back there. That is one big white wall.
Oh yeah, you're looking warmer now.
Yeah. Well, doing a little DIY lighting action.
Yeah, we probably need to play with the EQ on the board too for your sound.
What I need to do is plug my mixer into my little preamp, which is I think that's going, because the mixer that I have, a common complaint is that the sound is just like not boosted.
Yeah, you just don't sound like you're getting the full dynamic range out of the Heil that you should be getting for some reason.
Right. That's so weird.
And those are phantom powered mics.
Nope.
Yeah.
No, they aren't.
Nope. PR40 is not.
I was just wondering maybe if there wasn't enough juice in it.
Well, that would make it
I guess those are
low.
my other mics.
But it shouldn't make it tinny.
Do I sound tinny?
Like you sound like you're on like a lesser mic. That's all. Huh. It doesn't sound tinny, but it definitely sounds like, oh, that's a cheaper mic than the Heil. The Heil always sounds rich.
Well, I think when basically all your lower frequencies are kind of absent.
What about now? Does that change anything?
Oh yeah. What did you do?
I boosted my low levels.
Oh yeah, that's all it was.
Really? Oh.
So the next knob from the bottom one, tweak that up just a little bit too. On your EQ. How many EQ levels do you have on your board?
Quite a few.
So the very bottom one, the one you already tweaked.
Well, no. So I've got level, I've got pan, I've got sound effects, which I have turned off actually. And then
now it sounds like it's supposed to.
High, mid, and low. And my gain's pretty much all the way up. So.
And your mid's in the middle? There's low, mid.
Yeah. Okay. I could even turn that. Let's see. How's that sound? Any better?
Rich.
Hello. Ish.
Yeah.
Well, I'll plug in the what's it called after we're done.
Mm-hmm. That's the mixture you got from Jeff, or not Jeff.
Right. Yes, Jeff. No. Actually, that's not true. Jeff got me a bunch of other stuff, but the mixer I already had, and then the amp I also already had. In fact, where is that damn thing? Darn. It's this guy, the Focusrite.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Those are great.
Yeah. So I used one that had 4 XLR mic inputs on the road because I was traveling for this other project of mine this entire last week, and it worked like a dream. I love that thing. So this is just a smaller input version of it where there's 2 XLR inputs on the front. So what I'm going to do is have the mixer run through this guy, and I think that will solve the problem. Yep. That's the hope anyway.
All right. How's the audio coming out of the mixer right now? It's going from the back of the mixer into your laptop like an audio cable or like a USB cable?
USB.
You've broken Roger with that answer.
No. I'm just wondering because if she uses the Focusrite, she'll need to run audio out of the analog audio straight from the mixer into the Focusrite.
However, I've got just the cable for that.
I've got just the cable.
I'm just wondering if there's a setting within the interface for the mixer, like within OS 10 or whatever, that it lets you adjust levels.
Oh my gosh, what is this? What did I just see? Oh, this is amazing. Have you seen BioCow's new daily tech news show advertisement? Here, I'll put it up on the screen share. So BioCow just made this new daily tech news show now with more Sarah Lane.
Oh, that's cute.
And then he's got a little quote from the post I did.
That's so nice.
Yeah, looks just like you too.
It really does. So yeah, how does this thing? I'm gonna make this thing work. I think. Well, we'll figure it out.
That kind of detect, yes. All right, we're going to play around with this stuff. But once again, thank you, folks, for getting us to our milestone. More info on DTNS Labs coming. And set your calendars for, I need to memorize this date, so give me a second. October 27th for our first final Friday round table. And starting October 2nd, this lady right there.
Woohoo!
Yay!
It'll be exciting.
Woo!
Talk to you tomorrow.